We're getting stunning pictures out of Iran. Iranian leaders have been reacting to President Trump's decision to withdraw from the nuclear deal. The country's lawmakers, some of them burning both an American flag along with a copy of the deal. This happened during a session of parliament. And then today they're going to vote on taking reciprocal action against the U.S. The country's supreme leader releasing a statement that included this line. It said Trump's corpse will also be worm food while Iran stands strong. While Iranian President Hassan Rouhani is attempting to moderate Iran's response to Trump's pullout, promising to commit to the agreement still for the time being. Trump asked what he would do if Iran restarted its nuclear program, responded like this.
Iran will find out. They're going to find out. I don't think they should do that. I would advise Iran not to start their nuclear program. I would advise them very strongly. If they do, there will be very severe consequence.
I want to bring in Hillary Leverett, who has quite an impressive resume when it comes to this. You were a former Middle East specialist on the National Security Council. You were the director for Near East Affairs there. You also worked at the State Department. You represented the Bush administration in negotiations with Iran after 9/11. Specifically, we should mention, having to do with gaining some sort of entree into Afghanistan, right? Gaining some sort of knowledge as you look to have a footprint there. Do you think the president can bring Iran back to the table, or is this seeding ground to have the Europeans, to have China, to have Russia take over?
There's this misnomer that Iran somehow has to be brought to the table. But in my experience, and I look back through American history with Iran, Iran is always willing to go to the table. And we see that with the Europeans, they're always at the table, with the Russians, with the Chinese, even with us after 9/11 and Afghanistan, even in the Reagan administration. You had Reagan administration officials go with a Bible and a cake, the famous Iran-Contra affair. The Iranians are always willing to negotiate. This time, however, it's such a shock that I think they're going to negotiate without us. They'll negotiate with the Europeans, with the Russians, with the Chinese, and we are in danger of ceding our influence in the Middle East to not only a rising Iran, but with Iran's allies, Russia and China.
So what does that look like long term? I mean, what is the risk that the administration is running by ceding that ground?
Long term, I think it's a strategic disaster. It really brings Russia more into the Middle East, where we see Russia making inroads there every single day, first in Syria, and now they'll make much more inroads with Iran. Iran just swept the election, pro-Iranian parties just swept the elections in Lebanon. They're going to sweep elections in Iraq this weekend. So we'll have a rising Iran with influence, even more influence in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Turkey, with a rising Russia and China, sitting at the crossroads of the international oil and gas supply between Asia and Europe. It's a tremendous strategic problem for the United States to see this much influence to Iran and its allies.
Does it make a more dangerous world for the U.S.?
I think it does, as long as the United States continues to want to have a role in the Middle East. If we pulled out and we just stayed at home, as perhaps President Trump wants us to, maybe we could avoid the danger. But as long as we're out there in the Middle East, around the world, with a rising Iran, a rising Russia, and no dialogue, no effective dialogue with them, we're the ones in trouble.
How do you see, with your tremendous expertise, the president having this influence on the world stage right now? Because he is making changes that are shaking things up when it comes to Iran, when it comes to North Korea, where he is on Syria, where he's talking a tough game, but then he's also saying that he wants to bring U.S. troops home. How do you see his position on the world stage?
It's possible it's just completely incoherent. But on the other hand, to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I hope so with what's happening with North Korea, I hope this all ends very well. On Iran, the silver lining here is that even though supporters of the Iran deal here in Washington, and I certainly have been one of them, even though we like the aspects of it that dealt with Iran's nuclear program, in reality, it really wasn't working for anybody. Iranians were not getting the benefit, and it changed nothing in the U.S.-Iran relationship. So we had no better relationship. It was European firms going into Iran, Chinese firms going in. If we don't have the nuclear deal, we can start afresh. My concern is that Trump will not pursue negotiations with Iran to really start afresh to help the United States, and we will cede the table to Russia, China, and the Europeans.
Hillary, thank you so much.